What is DNA and how does it work? DNA, also known as deoxyribonucleic acid, is a molecule. It's a bunch of atoms stuck together. In the case of DNA, these atoms combine to form the shape of a long, spiraling ladder, sort of like this one here. If you ever studied biology or saw the movie Jurassic Park, you probably heard that DNA acts as a blueprint or a recipe for a living thing. But how? How on earth can a mere molecule act as a blueprint for something as complex and wonderful as a tree, a dog, or a dinosaur? To help answer that question, let's first take a quick look at amino acids. Amino acids are tiny little chemicals inside our bodies that are so important, they're often referred to as the building blocks of life. There's about 20 different kinds, each with their own unique shape. The neat thing about them is they can be attached to each other kind of like Legos to produce an endless variety of larger particles known as proteins. Amino acids make up proteins. Proteins, along with other chemicals, combine to form living cells. Cells make up tissues. Tissues make up organs. And organs, when they're all put together and functioning, of course, combine to form living creatures like you and me. These proteins that make up our bodies, and keep in mind, there's millions of different kinds of proteins. They each have to be formed in the perfect shape in order to function. If they're the wrong shape, they usually won't work. That's where DNA comes in. DNA does a lot of interesting things, some of which we don't fully understand, but one of its main and most well understood functions is to tell amino acids how to line up and form themselves into the perfect protein shapes. In theory, if the right proteins are built at the right time and in the right place, everything else from cells to organs to entire creatures will come out just fine. This here is a simplified model of DNA. It shows us that the steps of the ladder are made up of 4 different kinds of chemicals shown here by different colors and letters. If you look at just one half of the molecule, you can read its chemical sequence or genetic code from top to bottom, sort of like a book. A single strand of DNA is extremely long, millions of letters long. It spends most of its life coiled up like a noodle, living inside the nucleus or the centerpiece of a cell. Amino acids, however, live outside the nucleus in what's called the cytoplasm. To help DNA interact with the cytoplasm and convert those amino acids into proteins, special chemicals inside the nucleus make partial copies of the DNA code. These partial copies, called RNA, look a lot like DNA, but they're shorter, of course, and they're missing one of their sides. Their small shape and size allows them to fit through tiny pores in the nucleus, out to the cytoplasm, and into the mouth of another particle called a ribosome. Ribosomes are protein-building machines. They read the RNA code 3 letters at a time, suck amino acids out of their surroundings, and stick them together in a chain according to the RNA code. As the chain grows, it bends, it folds, and it sticks to itself to form a perfectly shaped protein. Every 3 letters of the RNA code tell the ribosome which of the 20 different kinds of amino acids should be added next. For example, CAA tells the ribosome to grab a glutamine. AGU tells it to grab a serine, and so on. Once a protein is built, it can then go on to do a number of different things, one of which could be to help form a brand new cell. So to answer the original question, what is DNA? DNA is a molecular blueprint for a living thing. How does it work? DNA creates RNA, RNA creates protein, proteins go on to form life. This entire process, as complicated, as sophisticated, as magical as it might seem, is entirely based in chemistry. It can be studied, it can be understood. I'm John Perry, and that's DNA stated clearly.
Okay, literally this video is so good, it tells you everything almost that you need to know. I mean, there's more details, but that was what, a 5-minute video? Yeah, 5 minutes and 23 seconds. Okay, and that tells you almost everything you need to learn for the next 2 weeks. Okay, not everything, but a lot of it. So let's go through and fill in some of this. Okay, so we have DNA. And DNA stands for, and this is going to be an enriched word. So if you're like, I don't want to write out that whole thing because it's too much, that's okay. Deoxy. Deoxy means without an oxygen. Okay. Ribo, deoxyribo, nucleic acid. Deoxyribonucleic, ribonucleic, sorry, that should be an N. Acid. These have to be capital letters. Nobody writes DNA in lowercase letters. It would just be weird. Okay? And DNA, what is its function? It acts as a code. Yes, it is the blueprint or the recipe. Okay? So DNA is what type of particle is DNA? Do you guys remember your particles from the chemistry section? What's one kind of particle? Any kind of particle. If I gave you some iron, what would it be made of? Atoms. There we go. It would be made of atoms, yes? Now, this DNA is a whole bunch of atoms stuck together. And I'm going to let you know what kind of atoms in there. There's carbon, there's hydrogen, there's nitrogen, there's oxygen. What kinds of elements are those? Carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, those are all nonmetals. So if you stick non-metal atoms together, what kind of particle do you get? You get they are nonmetals. You get covalent bonds. And when you have things that are bonded covalently, what do we call that? That's a molecule. So DNA is a molecule. And this is why I do chemistry before biology, because this biology has a lot of chemistry in it. It's a bunch of what stuck together? Atoms. These atoms combine to form the shape of a long spiral ladder. Okay, and by the way, in a ladder, here's a ladder. Do you guys know what these things are called that you step on in a ladder? Steps, no. They're called rungs. That's the name of the thing in the ladder, like in a real ladder, like that you would climb up, okay? So if we are talking about DNA and we say, what are the rungs made of? We mean, what is like this part made of? Yeah? As opposed to the sides of the ladder. Those are not official biological terms, so you don't need to know those words, okay? I guess you need to know rungs so that you can, if I ask you what are the rungs made of, you can say, they are made of the bases, but we'll worry about that later. Its function is to act as a blueprint or recipe to build an organism like a tree, a dog, or a dinosaur who eats the dog, apparently. And then they talk about another type of molecule. They talked about amino acids. Okay, amino acids are tiny little chemicals inside our bodies. Okay, they are often referred to as the building blocks of life. And if you're interested in what they look like, we've got some phenylalanine, which has got that complicated structure there. We got some proline. We got some aspartic acid. They're really complicated, yeah? So normally, even if you're doing like higher level biology, you would probably just look these up rather than memorizing them. You know what I mean? But we just need to know that there's different types of amino acids, okay? We don't need to know any of their names or anything like that, okay? There are about 20 different kinds of amino acids, and you should know that. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to start putting stars beside anything that you should know. Each with their own unique shape. The neat thing about amino acids is they can be attached to each other, kind of like Legos, to produce an endless variety of larger particles. What do we call those larger particles? Proteins. You know what we're going to do with proteins? We're going to put a star. And you know what we're going to put beside amino acids? We're going to put a star. And back on the previous page, because I forgot to do it back there, we're going to put a star beside DNA. And we're going to put, we've already got amino acids, but we'll start here again anyway, amino acids. So here are some proteins. Okay, lots of different proteins there. Amino acids make up proteins. Proteins and other chemicals make up living cells. Cells make up tissues. So you could have heart tissue, lung tissue, eyeball tissue. Tissues make up organs, skin tissue, and tissues all put together and organs. That's a mistake. Cross out tissues and put organs, and I need to fix that. That star is for me, because I need to fix that. And organs all put together make living creatures. How many different kinds of proteins did they say that they were? There were 20 amino acids, but they can combine in so many different ways, you actually end up with millions. Not billions, but millions of different kinds of proteins. Okay, we'll only learn a very few of them. Like we'll learn things like keratin. Keratin is what your nails are made of and your hair. Okay, we'll learn things like hormones, which are little proteins that are go through your bloodstream to deliver messages from one part of the body to another part of the body. We'll learn a few different proteins like that. In order to function properly, proteins have to be the perfect shape. Okay, so if this one were not like a little square, if this one were not like a little triangle, if this one were not like a little sphere, they just wouldn't do their job properly. Okay, so it's like if I needed to hammer a nail into the wall, what tool would I use? I would use a hammer, yes? I could have a screwdriver in my hand and I would be like maybe hitting it with the handle of the screwdriver, but it's not really going to do its job properly. Certainly if I had a tool like a saw, would that be any use at all for hammering the nail into the wall? Yeah, you could maybe like be bam, bam with the saw, I don't know. But proteins, just like tools, have to have a proper shape to do their job, okay? One of the functions of DNA is to tell amino acids how to join up and form themselves into the perfect protein shape. Here is a simplified model of DNA. Oh, and we should say in order to function properly, they must be the perfect shape. Let's star that because protein shape determines function. Okay, so the steps or the rungs, do you remember the word rungs? Okay, the rungs of the ladder are made up of how many different types of chemicals? 4. And what are the letters for those chemicals? A, T, C, and G. Doesn't matter what order you put them in. You need to know these 4 letters. Optional, you can learn that A stands for adenine. All of them end in the sound that they make is -ine. So adenine, thymine, guanine, and cytosine. Those would be enriched. Okay, so you can just say A, T, G, C, or you can say adenine, thymine, guanine, cytosine. Your choice. A lot of the time, you'll just use the letters because it's just a lot faster, right? How many sides does a DNA molecule have? 2 sides. Let's just look at 1/2 of the molecule. You can read the chemical sequence, also known as the genetic code. So the genetic code is just the order of the letters. Are we going to learn about chromosomes? Sorry? Okay, never mind. We're good? Okay. Okay, so these are the order, so we can read it. And so this side would say ATG, CTA. Now, why do we need that order? Well, that's because, well, actually, we're not there yet. A single strand of DNA is not short like this. It is actually super, super long. Guys at the back, you need to pay attention, yeah? Because otherwise it's not gonna go into your head and you're gonna be like, oh no, what happened? Okay, so what we're doing here is we are zooming out. We zoom out as we go from here to here to here. You can see it's getting thinner and longer and skinnier until it kind of looks a little bit like a thread, yeah? It's thread-like and it's thin, and this is DNA. And it's long. How many letters long? Millions. And sometimes we refer to this as like a little bit like a noodle. Okay? If you can imagine, it's long, it's thin, and it's noodly. And I like referring it to that because I really like the word noodly. Okay? So this long, thin, noodly form of DNA is called chromatin. Chromatin. There's going to be a lot of chroma things. There's chromatin, there's chromatids, and there's chromosomes. Okay, so there's a lot of chroma things. We're not going to do them all today, though. They're related to one another. A chromosome, if this is a chromosome, when DNA makes, a chromosome is made of DNA. When we make a copy of the DNA, like we make a perfect copy and the two copies are joined together, these two halves are called sister chromatids. The entire structure is called a chromosome. However, even when it's unreplicated, this is also called a chromosome. This is an unreplicated chromosome. This is a replicated chromosome. Unreplicated chromosome, replicated chromosome. Unreplicated, everyone with me? Unreplicated chromosome, replicated chromosome. Everyone, unreplicated chromosome, replicated chromosome. Okay. We'll get to that more later. For now, DNA spends most of its life coiled up like a noodle, living inside. Where does it live? It lives in the nucleus. What types of cells have a nucleus? This is from yesterday. What types of cells have a nucleus?
The one that starts with E.
Eukaryotic cells have a nucleus. You should know that eukaryotic cells have a nucleus, and that's where DNA lives. However, amino acids live where? They live in the, they live outside the nucleus in the cytoplasm. So you can see There's our nucleus. DNA lives there. Cytoplasm, the amino acids live there. So here's our nucleus, and it's got the DNA, long, thin, noodly DNA. What's that long, thin, noodly DNA known as? Long, thin, noodly chromatin. Oh, here's a way to remember it. Okay, so we've got our nucleus with our long, thin, noodly DNA. Imagine that you have some chicken noodle soup in a tin. So that long, thin, noodly form is chromatin. Does that help you remember it? Okay. And then outside in the cytoplasm, we have all our little amino acids. We got some that look like triangles. We've got some that look like squares. We've got some that look like circles. Like they're all out there, which is very nice. By the way, what's this outer edge of the nucleus called? That's the nuclear membrane, yes. And we have a little problem now. Because what's DNA's job? DNA's job is, it's the instructions for how to put the amino acids together. Where are the instructions? The instructions for how to put the amino acids together are in the nucleus. Where are the actual amino acids themselves? Outside the nucleus. So the instructions are in the nucleus. The amino acids, which the instructions are for, are outside the nucleus. So we're like, oh, problem, my instruction. It's like if if you had the instructions for putting together some IKEA furniture in your neighbor's house. Yes, the instructions are over there, and then the furniture is in your house, right? That's going to be kind of difficult. Yes. Put the furniture together. So how does the DNA, which is stuck in the nucleus, get its code out to the cytoplasm so that it can help organize the amino acids? So to help the DNA interact with the cytoplasm and convert the amino acids into proteins, special chemicals inside the nucleus do they make a copy of the entire DNA code? No, they just take little sections of the code and they say, here is the section for making keratin. I'm going to read this little section. So the DNA, one strand of DNA contains the code for many, many, many different proteins. Okay, there's like one protein here, one protein here, one protein here. The codes are all along the DNA. Okay, so special chemicals inside the nucleus make partial copies only for that one protein of the DNA code. These partial copies of the DNA are called RNA. Again, these need to be capital letters. And just like DNA had a big long word, does anyone remember the big long word that DNA stood for? Yeah, deoxyribonucleic acid. What's the only difference with RNA? It's missing the deoxy. And because deoxy means without oxygen, the only difference between a DNA and an RNA is that the DNA is lacking an oxygen because it's deoxy without an oxygen. Other than that, they're mostly the same. Okay, there's more differences than that, but that's one of the big differences. We'll talk more about that later. Okay, so here's RNA. What do you notice? Does it look like DNA? Is it similar? Is it the same? No. What's it missing? It's just one half, like it's not double-stranded. It is a single strand. RNA is a single strand. Whereas DNA is a double strand. The RNA molecules look a lot like DNA, but they are shorter, of course, and they are missing one of their sides. So in other words, RNA is single-stranded. So I have a question for you. Is anything we've learned so far like difficult? It's just a lot of information, right? With a whole lot of words. So that's why you can make your cheat sheet to help you with the words, to help you with the structure, that kind of thing, okay? And while we're here, I want you to take a little look at this picture here. What else is different about this RNA? The letters, we still have G, right? We still have C, and I wish they had an A on here. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to turn this one into an A, just so that, we've got an A, okay? But instead of T, we have U. And if you want to know what U stands for, this is enriched here, U stands for uracil. Okay. These RNA molecules, we talked about that. How does the RNA get out of the nucleus? Yeah, there's holes in the nuclear membrane called nuclear pores. So you need to know nuclear membrane, you need to know nuclear pore, you need to know cytoplasm, nucleus, and RNA. All of those are things you need to know. Why can RNA get out, but DNA can't? Huh? Yeah, it's a lot thinner because it's just single-stranded. It's thinner and it's smaller, so it can fit through the pores. And you'll notice that I tend to do things like right through THRU because I'm lazy. Okay. The RNA molecules, small size and shape, allows them to fit through tiny whats? Tiny pores, which are holes. In the, what do we call that thing? Nuclear membrane. And they move out from the nucleus and into the, what's outside of the nucleus? The cytoplasm, yes. And that little RNA, it goes into the mouth of another particle, another organelle, actually, called a, do you guys remember what it's called? Ribosome. Ribosome. Okay, that's how it's pronounced, ribosome. So, in goes the RNA. And it moves this way. And while it is inside the ribosome, the code is read 3 letters at a time. It's one side of the ladder and a half a rung.
No, I like the whole thing. Like you would spread it out with the rung, like the rung is flat. No.
Oh, are they all attached to each other? Like,
Wait, like, is this the straight part? Is it made out of something different?
yes, the rungs are made out of something different than the side. Yes, the side is made out of sugar and phosphate, and it actually alternates sugar, phosphate, sugar, phosphate, sugar, phosphate, sugar, phosphate, and it's really strong, which is really good because it holds it all together. And that's the same for DNA, sugar, phosphate, sugar, phosphate, sugar, phosphate, sugar, phosphate. And one of the differences between DNA and RNA is that the sugar in DNA is deoxyribose. The sugar in RNA is called ribose. So that's where the deoxyribose and the ribose part come from, is from the sugar that's in that. They call it the sugar phosphate backbone. Okay, because it goes sugar, phosphate, sugar, phosphate. And just like your backbone keeps your structure, the sugar phosphate backbone keeps the structure of the DNA and the RNA really nice. The little things sticking off, those are called bases, and we'll talk more about those later. Okay? Each 3-letter code is called on the RNA, is called a codon. I'm giving you a little bit of extra stuff here. Okay? We'll come to these later. But I'm kind of throwing in a few extra vocab words now so that you've seen them but once before, you'll see them again later. What do ribosomes build? They build proteins. So they are protein building machines. They read the RNA code how many letters at a time? 3 letters at a time. And what do they suck out of their surroundings and stick together? They suck amino acids out of their surroundings, out of the cytoplasm, and they stick them together in a chain. So they're actually forming covalent bonds. They've got amino acid, covalent bond, another amino acid, covalent bond, another amino acid, okay? And you end up with this amino acid chain. As the chain of amino acids grows, it bend and fold, and it bends, it folds, and it sticks to itself. And so you actually get little sticking to itself. It sticks to itself here, and it sticks to itself here, and it sticks and it sticks. Do you guys remember when it's not an actual bond, but you got like a molecule sticking to another molecule, what we called that? Intermolecular forces. Okay, you don't really need to know that for this unit, but if you like things relating back to one another, it sticks to itself by IMFs, intermolecular forces. And once it has bent and folded and stuck to itself, it forms a perfectly shaped protein. Every 3 letters of the RNA code tell the ribosome which of how many different kinds of amino acids are there? 20. Every 3 letters of the RNA code tell the ribosome which of the 20 different kinds of amino acids should be added next. Now, do you need to know that CAA means glutamine? No. Okay, but CAA does mean grab a glutamine and stick it on the chain. If the ribosome sees an AGU, it'll say grab a serine and stick it on the chain. Okay? What did we call this 3-letter code again? That's called a codon. Yeah? Codon. Each codon is specific for one amino acid. For example, CAA tells a ribosome to grab a glutamine. AGU tells it to grab a serine, and so on, but you are not responsible for knowing amino acid names because that's just crazy. Okay? When you get to like biology 12, there will be a table where you can look up which 3 letters stand for which amino acids. Okay, what do we have left? Not much left. So let's finish up really quickly. You get a protein. Where does this take place? It takes place in the cytoplasm, in the ribosome. And the ribosome is made of 2 parts. There's a big part at the top. We call that the large subunit. There's a small part at the bottom. That's called the small subunit. Once a protein is built, it can go on to do a number of things, one of which could be to form a brand new cell. Recap. DNA is a molecular blueprint for a living thing. What's this right here? This is DNA. What's this? That is RNA. So DNA creates an RNA copy, and then the RNA copy is read by the ribosomes, and that creates a protein. And that is called, it's actually called the central dogma of biology, which means it's like one of the enormous big ideas. DNA goes to RNA, RNA goes to protein. Okay, so now you've learned one of the huge, ginormous ideas of biology. And proteins go on to form life. All right. And I think what I'm going to have you do for homework is page 13. If you've already done page 13, you could do page 14. Okay? Oh, yeah. Let me open my book here. No. All right. Thank you very, very much, Valerie. Hi, Zoe. Thank you very much. Hello. Thank you, Kira. And if anybody did finish their homework in the meantime and would like to show me, you can do that.
Oh my God, what did you come and make? You have.
And is there anyone who would like a progress report?
Yeah.
I thought so. It's big because it's got everything on it since the beginning of term 1. Okay? So it's like a list of everything we've done. Hi.
But I'm confused with
Yes.
this one.
Oh, this one. What are organelles? Organelles are the little doodads inside the cell, the little things inside the cell that have jobs. So like a mitochondria is an organelle, the endoplasmic reticulum. They're all the little bits inside a eukaryotic cell.
And then just 8.
And this one, what types of organisms are made of eukaryotic cells? Those are the animals and plants.
Okay, that's all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yay. Excellent. Okay. All right.
Do you mark that down?
Oh, yeah, I need to mark it down. Thank you so much. Hudson. There we go. Logan. Varuni.
So.
Spencer. Kira Austin. Paul. So the good news is that you are still passing. Okay.
Wait,
so if you
for
pass,
progress report?
yeah,
All right, I'll get. I'm doing more homework right now.
good.
And
And
like the other.
okay, fantastic. But keep up on this one because this one you got a test on, right? So
All right.
and make sure you're working on whenever you have a little extra minute or two, do
Homework?
some work on your cheat sheet because
Cheat
that's
sheet?
going to be
All right.
huge for your test, right?
All right.
Okay. Samaya. Jordan. This says missing, but that just means that it's omitted.
Okay.
Okay, because that was, you weren't here for unit 1.
All right.
Okay. Ryan, Amaya, Mateo,
Thank you.
Hernan, Ken, Cody, Jennifer's not here. Thank you. Max, Malia, Hudson, so Hudson, you missed a test way back when and never came in to write it. And then this one, you didn't come in to do corrections. So that's why right now, that's where you're at. Okay, so if you would like to pass, what you're gonna need to do is come in and, at the very least, I don't even mind omitting this one, but you would need to come in and do some corrections on that one, okay? Yeah. Matthew,
Wait, which homework am I doing here? 'Cause I got like. So there. It's
that was like back in September, so I'm not gonna worry about it anymore. Homework altogether is worth like 5% of your grade, so like it really won't make any difference. Yeah.
Does it count the enrich yet?
No, the enriched is not in there. Okay. Vivian, Emily, Miriam, Zoe Sun, Sue, Laura,
barely, barely.
Valerie, Zoe Watt, Sophia, if you see anything where I've made a mistake, let me know. Sometimes I do, sometimes I have a typo.
Yeah.
But that's okay.